Okay. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Okay. I'm a little nervous. Um, so the title of the message today by me is "Let's Talk About Your Feelings." What that title really should say is reflections of being raised as a blessed child and how do we bridge the gap between the first and the next generations. But that title was way too long, and people are going to be like, and so instead, I decided to go. Let's talk about your feelings. The second exciting iteration to let's talk about love. You remember that one? Yeah. So before I jump into my slides, I just wanted to briefly reintroduce myself. So most of you know that I was raised in the United States and then moved to Japan, but I just wanted to put a little bit of context to all of that. So first, I was born in Jamaica, the island of Jamaica, Bob Marley and all that. But yeah, what's up? But yeah, so my parents were there on mission after 1975. So I was born to 1800 couple in 1980. So for the first 4 years of my life, it was kind of like on an island in the tropics. And my parents were doing a business. They started from nothing, no foundation, no money, but they found their way. And my dad made these vases for the tourists. And so just really one family just out there spreading the word. So that was the first 4 years. Then we moved to New York, and we were in the New Yorker Hotel like many other families. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that time, just a little bit in the stories here. But that was kind of like foundational years. And then we moved to New Jersey, where we lived for 6 years. After that, after a brief time in Korea, my family moved to Japan, and so did I. And so middle school onward was all in Japan until like the age of 30. And then after that, came back, went to school again, and the rest is history. So with that background, I'd like to go in today's message. So the introduction, today's the youth service. So I was going to talk to the youth, and right before I was about to talk, I think my daughter led the mutiny. They just got up and left. So, but I'm also partially relieved because teenagers, they're a little bit scary. Introduction. For those who feel a bit left behind or broken inside, yes, I'm talking about me. I felt a little bit left behind or broken inside at times, especially growing up. So that's what we're talking about. Now is the time for nurture and healing. So I was certain that I heard this from true parents, from true mother. I was certain. And so I was like, this is what I want to talk about because it comes from me, what I was feeling. But I was looking at you, Next Gen. They've gone somewhere. Hopefully, I'll have another opportunity to speak to them in the future. What can be done? So that's kind of where I'm starting from. I'm going to go way out left field. Do we have any Star Trek fans? Woo! Circa 1986. I thought it was 1987, but it's 1986 apparently. The Voyage Home. This was my early initiation to the world of Star Trek. I'm going to play a little clip about Spock. Now, before I do that though, do y'all know who that is? Who's Spock? Yes? Yeah, Leonard Nimoy. So just in a nutshell, Spock is half human and half Vulcan. Yes, he is an alien. But the fact that he's an alien is not really pertinent to what we're trying to show here. The fact is that he's half human. He's half human in an alien world, and he's gone through a traumatic experience, and he's being re-educated in the Vulcan way. So he's being tested in this scene. So hope this works. I'm so relieved. So here in this clip, he's being re-educated in the style of Vulcan, which is logic, fact-based, and rational decision-making. The Vulcans really are not big on emotion. They even almost deny the existence of emotions. They have them, but they're repressed. And so he's kind of in between those two cultures, like, who am I? And so when you ask a simple question to Spock, how do you feel? He literally does not understand the question. So he's kind of lost in that way. Next, I was going to do a little story time for you guys. but they're not here, so you guys gotta hear it. So I'm gonna go back to like when we were kids. We were raised just kind of on our own. So what I remembered recently was our time when we were in New York, like the New Yorker or Belvedere or the White House, East Garden, this kind of environment where we played. A lot of us were just left to our own devices. Parents were on mission, they were working, or they were listening to father's speeches. We were just out there, wherever we wanted to go. It wasn't that bad. We had each other, so the older kids usually took care of the younger kids. We were blessed children, but we were surrounded by blessed children, so really not so bad. It was kind of fun, actually. So for me personally, we were messing around in the New Yorker, just running free, or like places like Belvedere. There was not a lot of adult supervision going on. As we got older, we tended to rebel. And I think Gemini has come to know me a little bit too well because some of these references are very old. Like, who has a boombox? Playing loud music. Initially, there were a couple of guys with mohawks, but I think that took away from the message. So we're still the same kids growing up, and we're kind of rebelling. I don't know who tagged walls with spray paint, but maybe that happened too. And there's like paraphernalia all around. We got into some bad stuff. You know about all that. But essentially, we struggled like any other youth or young people, just like regular people. But for us, it felt like it was unique, but we also had a common experience. A lot of us shared similar difficulties, and I'm going to try to navigate through that, through this framework that I'm going to talk about today. Some of us were very fortunate as we got older either through matching or parent matching or finding a partner of our own. We grew up and we started having families of our own. And that's very happy. No? Yes. It's like sunshine, right? See the sunshine over there? This is a happy image. However, this is a common theme, and I feel this with my parents strongly, and also I feel like a lot of the younger generation feel this as well. What I'm trying to show with this image is the divide, is the direction they're facing. So the parents are facing this way with the Unification Church, with all of our values and our principles behind them, and they are strong. However, the younger generation, with what they believe to be true and what they have been raised in, the way they've been raised, they're looking at a different set of values, potentially. There is a divide, and it's sometimes hard to bridge that. So, I study, and I know the title was like, let's talk about your feelings, and people would be like, what do you know about my feelings? And of course, I don't, and I don't claim to. But there are people who study this sort of thing. So I sat down with some of the study that is being done today, and what rang true for me maybe will for you as well. So let's take a look. Identity conflict. So my understanding, the way that I view all of our elders, the first generation, if you came to the church of your own volition and then met your parents, met the divine principle, and you love all of that, there is no identity conflict. You had an identity when you came. If you came in your late teens or your early 20s, you had your identity already, and then the principle, true parents, maybe the spirituality was added on top as a layer. No identity conflict. However, for a lot of us raised in either a minority culture or in the church where we didn't have a lot of acceptance in the outside world, there was definitely this conflict. So when two core identities demand different loyalties and behaviors, that's problematic, potentially. So I'm not going to go into all of this, but essentially there's discomfort, they say, the people who know about this stuff. And as an adult, they may feel they need to hide their religion if it doesn't mesh with the values of the outside world. Incompatible perception, one set of values and the other set of values, they sort of fight with each other. They're not in harmony. Next concept that I want to just run by you real quick is called cognitive dissonance. And this, again, is like discomfort or the psychological state when there's a barrier. So like, as the generations are facing each other, but not really in harmony, this could be one of the reasons. is what I'm trying to get at, a barrier between them. And toxic shame, so I don't know why they feel the need to put toxic in front of things, because is there such a thing as non-toxic shame? I mean, like, it really doesn't, I was like, that seems a little extra. But in any case, if you're growing up, I felt this at times in America, but especially in Japan. You got to hide who you are if you want to be accepted. So what does that mean? That means building friendships or even like deeper relationships, anything like that. If you want to be accepted as a serious person who wants to progress, you got to hide who you are. Otherwise, they'll ridicule you. That's hard. It's even harder on a young person or a child. Let's get back to Spock real quick. So human versus Vulcan culture contrast. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because, I introduced it. I think you all got it, especially my Star Trek fam. So the human traits are like this: a lot of emotion, creativity, spontaneity. These are, encouraged. But on the Vulcan traits, those are like you're chaotic, you're unreliable, or you're just causing trouble. That's the same sort of behaviors characterized with a different cultural backdrop, right? Okay, so who's this man? It's me. But anyway, so as a young man, I was raised entirely in American culture, except for, Bob Marley. But so the traits that I grew up with, so all my friends at school, not to say that all Americans are like this, that's not what we're saying, right? So, but traits that are typically admired in American culture, traits that are typically admired in Japanese culture, they differ, right? So, I mean, I don't need to tell you, we're in a room full of different cultures as it stands, but I think this is something easily overlooked when we look through the lens of adults, because we can understand the differences and be comfortable with them if we think about it. But as a child, it's really hard to navigate those differences. So at age 12, I had to go from all of the side on the pink to the blue. And there was no one like that around me. So it was very unique. We moved to the outskirts of Tokyo, but not Tokyo itself. There weren't many foreigners, and there was really no one. And I presented as Japanese, but I couldn't really speak the language very well. There was a lot of cultural rules that I didn't understand. It was hard. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, so the conflict that we talked about, or the barrier between the two cultures, I struggled with this a lot, and it manifested in my relationship with my parents. So a lot of times I would just take it as they're a little disappointed. They want me to correct my behavior, correct it, and I really couldn't. Let's see. Indirect and nuanced. That's a fancy way of saying what? No, but I have an opinion. Everyone wants to hear what I have to say because I'm amazing. No, stop. And every time we go to like a social gathering or we're meeting people, and I'm, in Japanese we have to say like "born from your mouth." I was one of those people, and they couldn't get me to shut up, and they were very unhappy with that. In America, it was fine though. My parents were joking around. They were funny people. They were popular too. But for some reason, once we moved to Japan, they changed on me. They morphed into these different set of people that I didn't recognize. And the year away in Korea didn't help that as well. So I spent away from my parents, and then I came back, and I was reunited to these people who were very dismissive and short too. So what I got, they were short, very short, not short like in height, but like they were dismissive. They had no patience, because they realized if I kept going the way I was going with all these attributes on the left, I was going to struggle as an adult. So they wanted to fix me while I was still a teen, where I'm still sort of flexible, can still be taught. But for me, it was like, oh, I'm no good. Oh, I'm a disappointment. Screw you guys. And so, I got over it, but I got over it so well that like as soon as I was out of the house, I was like, I don't need you guys. And so it was like that's the barrier, that's the struggle, right? If you teach your children to be resilient and strong and independent, they will. But don't expect them to come back for bonding if you've done that a little bit at such an early age. If the struggle has been too hard, then expect them to stay independent for a longer time. It's going to be tough. I'm just trying to apply this to some of my friends who are raised in America. because I don't necessarily know what that's like, because in my teenage and formative years as an adult, or as a young adult, I was in Japan. So the experience must have been very different for like half Japanese or Japanese in America, or just regular American, being raised in the church, but also being raised in the American school system, right? The values are different, and I think we don't really take into consideration how much of a gap there is. It's huge. Uh, the, 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 the characteristics that I've learned more and more living and working in the United States as an adult are kind of like this. Free thinking. Do you have a mind of your own? Are you loyal to your team and your work or the things that you believe in? Are you hardworking? These are very admired traits. And I think that's great. And I've kind of learned those traits as well in my own work, because I was coming from, well, not just blessed child, but also Japanese traits as well. The blessed child, you're not going to be thinking for yourself too much, especially in the early years. You're going to be listening to what the principal says or what the direction. What's the mission right now? Do you know? Do you understand? Are you following it to your core? So that is the opposite of independence, right? Free thinking? Don't think so. Are you independent? No, you're not. And righteousness is coming from elsewhere, right? It's coming from the higher authority, not your own conscience. Well, it's supposed to be, but many times you think that you're doing things for the right reasons, but they don't necessarily coincide with what we're being taught is righteous and true. So there's that contradiction. So let's move on. I'm trying to remember what's like. Okay, so the smart people who study this stuff, they have a framework of 5 stages. I'm just going to touch on it real light. I'm not an expert. I read about this for like an afternoon, so there you have it. But as you go down, so I think, of course, we understand that there's a gap, and then the cultural stuff. Maybe our teaching in our church, our faith, is not mainstream. Yeah, for the adults, it's just like, yeah, is that even a thing? But for us, the young people, for children, yes, it is. It's a huge issue, and we had to cope with it. We had to figure it out, even from a very young age, intuitively. Are we going to be ostracized or ridiculed? That sort of thing. We had to deal with that from a very young age when we're vulnerable. And so I think that is referring to that third one, feeling tension between the minority identities between them and majority culture. How did we cope? We chose one over the other. So did we prioritize one identity? So if we're sort of down with the principle and we just go that route, we just follow that and follow our faith, do the training or what have you. But if we weren't, then we would emphasize the outside. We would pursue our education, our careers. The faith thing could be just like once a week, maybe, I don't know. But in any case, the only solution is for those two to be kind of harmonized. Not one, not the other, and we're kind of just struggling, who am I? No. Ultimately, we want harmony in the two things, to be sort of centered, focused. Yeah, but what do we do? So that's all fine and good. The scientists, they usually come up great framework for analyzing the problem. But when it comes to the hard work of like trying to bridge the gap, I don't think people have the answers. So what I'm going to talk about here is just like how I feel, and I'm going to share it with you. So there you go. Acknowledge that each child's experience growing up is unique and will differ from that of the parent. My parents did not understand my struggle, and it was also my fault because I didn't know how to communicate it. But I mean, in all fairness, how could I? All of my experiences, they were kind of unique. But if you acknowledge that they're unique, if my parents would have acknowledged that my experiences were unique, instead of being dismissive all the time, I think we would have a better go of it. I don't know. Well, you tell me. So, and the second one is like, oh, surprise, surprise, love your children. But of course, I want to just say, I understand. You love your children. That's no question. Is that even worth putting up there? No, but I think it's worth sort of touching on that love can mean different things, right? And in the previous talk that I had, Min Young hates me repeating this, but the theory of warm and cold water, No? No, doesn't ring any bells? No? Anyway, so it was a theory that I made up in 5 minutes. But essentially, it was like how you treat other people, right? So Jesus says how you treat others as though you would treat others as though they were treating how you wish to be treated. And so, true Father, live for the sake of others and all this. But in practice, I think oftentimes we're still in the sort of frontier or the wilderness. And we're trying to get the world saved, but perhaps we're also at the same time feeling left behind. And so if we can, I think, this is my feeling, if we could practice more of the warm water, maybe move away a little bit from the cold water, which is necessary in a time of wilderness, and we're trying to get through that, I think we'll be in good shape. But, it's really an ongoing process, right? So we got to try to do work and do the best we can. Okay, so, okay. Yeah, I really don't want to talk about my feelings and all that, but Minyoung was like, dude, you gotta. So, okay. So I hope that was enough of my personal stuff. But let's sort of wrap here with True Mother's speech. So in the beginning, I mentioned I was sure that True Mother or, True Parents had told us that it's time to nurture and heal. I was sure, but I couldn't find it. So I found it. And I found it. But it turned out that AI had led me a little bit astray and actually made up an answer, made up a little bit of a speech excerpt that didn't exist, but was the answer I was looking for. I was shocked. And so last night, emergency meeting, Minyoung, help me. And she had all the speeches throughout the years for the past decade and a half. And she's like, I'll find it for you. And and she found a message that was very close to what I was trying to say. We must be able to love and take care of each other more than any other external group because we are true parents' children. Have we been doing this? Have we been taking care of each other above everything else? I don't think so. I think there was a sentiment that the public mission is priority. Everything is centered on witnessing people we don't know, possibly we don't know. New people, bring them in, bring the numbers. What was neglected? Our own people, our own children. So this is a message. True Mother's remarks at opening ceremony Top Gun workshop. So this is a future leadership, right? Young people, they're the best and the brightest. She's telling them, take care of our people. Don't let them feel left behind, neglected, or broken inside. Please. And so fast forward almost a decade, 9 years. She's again talking to families, but this time it was a Children's Day festival. A lot of beautiful children in the audience. And she said she hopes that you become children of blessed families, the Hyodong, which is like filial child, but it's more like of purity. So very small children. Hyodong, who can celebrate and enjoy together in this beautiful setting. So later, this is from iPeace TV. Later, they show the families enjoying the arboretum, and there were birds and nature, and they were going through, and she wants you to enjoy. And that was not the message in the past, but it is now. Take care of your children. Let them enjoy nature and the animals and the plants, especially in springtime when it's getting warmer. And that is your mission. That is your priority, brothers and sisters. So hopefully we get to this stage where I'm not complaining about my parents being mean to me in teenage years, and hopefully we can actually have meaningful relationship and conversation. Yeah, Jim and I did pretty good again. So thank you, and that's my message. Heavenly Parent and true parents of heaven and earth and humankind, thank you so much, Heavenly Parent, for this place that we can gather, Heavenly Parent, as brothers and sisters of all generations. We truly have a lot of work in front of us, but today we want to think about healing and nurturing of our family, our young people, Heavenly Parent, our children. We want to take care of them, and we are encouraged by you, Heavenly Parent, to do just that. And we have to save the world, but Heavenly Parent, we also have to save ourselves. And thank you so much that we have this message from our true parents, Heavenly Parent. We have all the encouragement and authority that we need to do that. And you are with us, Heavenly Parent, every moment of every day. We shall not forget this. And we are truly grateful for all the blessings and everything that you put in front of us. Even if it's challenging, we want to overcome with a humble heart and purity. We pray for our true mother in this difficult time. We pray for our brothers and sisters in the Japanese church who are congregating online or in parks and cafes, Heavenly Parent. A lot has been taken away, but we shall persevere. Thank you so much. Finally, in attending our Holy Mother Han, we pray in gratitude in my name, Kimoto Katsu, blessed family, Aju.